Why care about caffeine? Well, in this video, I'm going to explain how caffeine is useless if used improperly, how it blocks healthy chemicals in your brain, causes anxiety, can throw you into a cycle of dependence, and can even kill you. Stay tuned. Hello and welcome, my name is Robert Mechura, and in today's video I'm going to be talking about the effects of caffeine on athletic performance. If you're new to my channel, I make all sorts of running related content, whether that be tips, vlogs, meet races, any of that stuff. So if that is right up your alley, if you enjoy running related content, be sure to hit that subscribe button right now before I get into this video and tap that bell for new videos every single week. So let's get into it. First, let me explain how caffeine is just so detrimental to your health. So this chemical works by blocking the melatonin receptors in your brain, aka the chemical that makes you sleepy. So it doesn't get rid of the sleepiness, the tired feelings, it just blocks it. But your brain wants to tell you, you're sleepy, you're tired, you're overworked, you need rest. But caffeine blocks that. So what your brain does to make sure that that message is received, it creates more receptors in your brain. Now you need to drink more coffee than you did before just to get the same effect and to block all those receptors so you're not as sleepy anymore. And this makes it really, really hard to quit because instead of, these aren't accurate numbers, but just for representation, you go from 5 receptors to 50 receptors. Now you've got 50 open receptors when you're trying to quit, or they're all flooding in with melatonin, and now you're all stressed because there's 50 of these instead of 5. It has been proven to cause panic attacks, and it's just really detrimental to your health. Now, let's say you don't quit, you continue to use caffeine. Another thing that is brought with consumption of caffeine is cortisol, and that is the chemical that kicks in when you're in a life or death situation, and that is one of the chemicals in caffeine that causes the extreme alertness. And having cortisol constantly in your body is very, very negative because it can decrease bone density as well as muscle tissue, which of course is not helpful at all when you're using caffeine for performance enhancement. High cortisol levels and a buildup of melatonin receptors in your brain can affect your sleep, digestion, anxiety levels, and in turn your overall health. Moving closer to the performance enhancing side of things, caffeine has been proven to enhance performance. Everyone knows that. Everyone knows that, it can make you run faster, it can make you whatever, because of all the chemicals in it. But something you might not know is while you're training or just leading up to your game or event or race or whatever, consuming it consistently at all, whether once a week, every day, 2 cups a day, anything like that, or right before you work going into training, all of that is really going to hurt its effectiveness on race day. If you were to not consume any caffeine at all in the weeks prior to your event or right before your event, your stimulation level would be here. But if you were to consume it regularly, day in, day out, before training and before your race, your stimulation level would be here. But how can you tap in and get it even higher? Well, a caffeine washout period is where you completely quit caffeine for 7 days. This has been scientifically proven, and it makes it feel as if after those 7 days, it feels like you've never even drank coffee before. So you can drink coffee in training and you'll be completely fine. If you need to do it to get through a workout, you can do that, and then as long as you quit caffeine for 7 days before your race, you should be good to go, and you'll feel bigger and more intense benefits from the caffeine on race day because it'll feel like you haven't had it at all ever, and you'll have higher benefits from the caffeine and your stimulation level will be here. A good analogy is if you were to drink a glass of extremely cold water, your system would be completely shocked, but as you continue to drink it, you'd get used to the cold water. And the caffeine washout period serves as the time you're drinking room temperature water, warm water, or not drinking water at all. So then the next time that you do drink cold water, you get shocked once again. We all know that caffeine is a stimulant, which means it elevates your heart rate. So let's say you're going into a sporting event, your heart rate is starting at 80 beats per minute, just because you're nervous, not because you took any caffeine at all. And let's say it gets up to 170 within 5 minutes. Now, if you take caffeine, it's starting out at 95 beats per minute because it elevates your heart rate and is a stimulant, of course. So, doesn't it make sense that you would reach 170 beats per minute before you would if you didn't take caffeine at all? So this begs the question, is it really performance enhancing? And, science has proven that it is, and maybe this is a downside to it, but it could also have, other benefiting factors that outweigh this negative effect. On a separate note, something a lot of people don't know, unless they actually think about it, is caffeine affects everyone in a different way. The mostly unknown fact is that caffeine actually is hereditary, how it affects you. So the effects you feel when you consume caffeine are only until it starts to break down. So as soon as caffeine starts to break down in your system, you lose all those effects. So if your body just tends to break things down faster, which is hereditary and is passed down through your family, then you might not experience as big of an effect. And that is why people consume such wide ranges of milligrams of caffeine, as well as having to do with the receptors in your brain, is also why some people consume so much caffeine. Also, something a lot of people don't know is that caffeine slows calcium absorption. Now, why would this be important? Well, kidney stones can actually be caused by too much or too little caffeine, and this is often a byproduct of a regular user if you drink enough of it over a certain amount of years, also combined with your genes and how caffeine affects you. So, you could be at high risk, you could be at low risk, but just know that that's something to watch out for. So all in all, there's a plethora of benefits, negative effects of caffeine, but I did say at the beginning of this video that caffeine has the potential to kill you. So let me go in a little bit more depth on that. In the 1800s, there was this man named Honoré de Balzac, who was a French novelist who consumed the equivalent of about 47 cups of coffee per day. Now, this is enough to kill anyone who drinks that, but he consumed highly potent espresso shots, which would mean he would be consuming less liquid than 47 cups of coffee, which is how he was able to survive that every day. And you'd think after all that, he would be just slowly killing himself and he would just roll over and die eventually. But over the 25-year span of his writing career, he wrote 47 novels, 18 short stories, 12 novellas, and 8 plays. So this is quite astounding. Did that caffeine really affect him? And I'm sure it did, because he was constantly consuming that over a long period of time. But I did say that this, is going to kill him, and eventually it did. And his ultimate death was caffeine poisoning at the age of, I think he was in his 70s. Now, the average life expectancy is 79 in the U.S. right now, but back in 1850 when he died, the average life expectancy, I forget, was maybe like 35 or 50 or around there. So he really outlived a lot of the people he knew, and this could be largely due to caffeine or not, but either way, he did die from caffeine, and it has proven deadly that it has high benefits as well as extreme consequences. Well, that was about all I have to say on caffeine and athletic performance. I hope this was very helpful and informational to you. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, turn on the bell notification so you don't miss any of my new weekly running content. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.